channel, everybody. If your season has gone anything like mine has, the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, the bite's been tough. So today I want to talk about 2 different presentations that are maybe a little bit outside the comfort zone, but can nonetheless be effective. The first I want to talk about is the Buzzbait. This is from American Snakehead Customs. This is the Dragon Buzzbait. You've probably all seen this getting used. It is absolutely my preferred buzzbait out of all possible buzzbaits, and there's several different reasons for it. The blade. This is a beefy blade. And it feels like it's probably aluminum, but it's extremely rigid. The clacker is fantastic. It's one of the only buzzbaits I know of that actually features a legit loop tie, which I'm pretty sure that Bear ties by hand. You never know what kind of fish this thing will catch. I do use a trailer hook. This is literally just like the lid from a Pringles can. Hole punch. Chunk. Got the little piece of plastic circle. Push that through. And that's a perfectly adequate stopper for whatever I need it to be. You don't have to go out there and buy crazy tackle to use this. You can work this thing so slowly. Much slower than any other buzzbait I've ever come across before. And there's just something about that slow retrieve as this sucker's churning up water that seems to trigger bites. Let's see how it works.
I'm throwing this buzzbait on a 7-foot medium heavy fast action rod, and my reel is, I want to say 7 or 7.2 to 1. Now that's important. Having a faster reel really can be beneficial when you're fishing a buzzbait. The snakehead is going to come up from behind the lure and it's going to hit. That means it's probably moving towards you, or at least oriented towards you at the time of the strike, which means it's pretty likely that it's going to come right at you. I can speed up if I need to speed up, and I can slow down if I need to slow down. As the lure is in flight, right before it touches the ground, you're going to hear me click that reel into position so that that lure is moving and those blades are churning the second that lure hits the water. I don't like letting them sink, especially if I'm fishing shallow like I am right now, because you never know what it's going to get caught on, especially with like trailer hooks and all that other good stuff. Yep. Good fish. Good fish. Good fish. Oh, not that great. Okay. Check out the take on this. Which hook did we get? Looks like we got the primary hook. Nice slow retrieve. Now the trick that I found when throwing a buzzbait like this is the slower the better. And the nice thing about the Dragon is that this big old blade makes it really easy to slow the lure down. So let's take a good look at this here. There's my trailer hook. Outside the mouth, primary hook is what got him. So it's a good piece of intel, right? When you're looking. Whoa, hey. All right, lure's out. Lure's safe. Nothing too sizable, but this time of year, a lot of time it's the juveniles that stick around and eat. Now this is by no means a juvenile. Do a quick measure. 23 1/4. Definitely not a juvenile. Definitely a breeding age snakehead that is not engaged in breeding behavior. Man, you're awesome. Thank you for playing. Yep, there you are. What are you? Look at that. Take a perch. Open up, buddy. A pretty tasty little snack on a Dragon. Aggressive. Mwah. Good luck. That's what that trailer hook is for. Not cool. Oh, thank goodness. See, this is one of the things that's nice about braided line, is when you have a situation like this, you're fishing aggressively, perhaps even stupidly, and you break off your lure, the line floats, which allows for you to simply look for that line and go back and get it. So we're going to learn our lesson here. You know, maybe it's a good idea that if you're going to be fishing with a buzzbait this big, to plus up your line size. Right now I'm running 30-pound Berkeley X9. That's probably overdue to be replaced. If I'm going to keep using this rod for this application, I'd take it up to 40 or 50 to get the job done. Now, if you're new to bait casting reels, this may blow your mind. But if you run into a situation where you get a backlash like that, you can always just pop the side off your reel, take your spool out, and instead of sacrificing a bunch of line, you can just work your way backwards and not have to cut your line. Situations like this one are pretty frustrating when they happen. But they do happen. And even though you may get mad, just kind of take a deep breath, listen to the wind, relax a little bit. There's my end. Give yourself a chance to figure it out. You will, but getting mad at it doesn't help anything. There we go. Put it back on. I don't know how long that took. A minute or two. Kept ourselves from going down a rod by just turning off that anchor.
All right, so there you have it. The first lure, the buzzbait. In this case, the dragon buzzbait. And you also got a free lesson on, you know, what to do when your gear fails on you completely because you failed to, you know, maintain it. The second presentation that I want to talk about tonight is the Fluke. Okay, here you've got, this is just a standard Zoom Super Fluke. It's set up currently as a Carolina rig. The way that I like to run mine, I don't know, I've got probably 15 to 18 inches of 30-pound fluorocarbon leader, a number 7 barrel swivel tied at the fore end. This easily goes onto, you know, your braid. I'm using, in this case, an improved uni to go onto the swivel and an improved uni to come down here to connect to a 5/0 Trocar EWG hook. You may also notice that I have beads, right? So these basically function as little clackers. They're going to create a little noise that maybe helps draw attention. I believe the first fish that I caught in the video was on exactly this setup, but on this particular day I didn't want to bother with rigging all this up. I just had a standard 4/0 swim bait hook that I tied onto a pink Zoom Super Fluke. By the way, if you guys aren't like tuned in to using the color pink for your lures, I think Zoom calls it bubblegum for some reason, masculinity, I don't know. Pink lures rule. Do not sleep on pink. Look at the water that you're dealing with and make the best choice available. Why did I go with the Fluke? You work a Fluke in a very similar way to the way that you work a frog. It's just a subsurface presentation. Now in this case, I am not running any kind of a sinker on this. You have a little bit of weight that's being produced by the swivel. You have a little bit of weight that's being produced by the fluorocarbon line. The one of the main differences that you have between fluorocarbon and braid is, as has been demonstrated, braid floats, fluorocarbon does not. This helps get the lure down. I go with a number 5 Trocar because it's a fairly beefy hook. And another feature of the Trocar is that the barb is really pretty substantial. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up, but you see how far that little barb actually sticks out? That really does a good job of helping keep the hook in the position you want it. The key, in my experience, to an effective Fluke presentation is that, number one, or the eyelet has to be completely exposed. That cannot be inside of the bait at all. Like this, you have a minimum amount of material up here before it hits the first bend in the hook. The other thing that is key is that it has to be run straight through. That hook has got to be dead on centered in order for this to behave properly. You're going to get the most action you possibly can out of this. And you cast the lure towards structure, submerged timber, or at the sides of vegetation. Get it as close as you possibly can. And you just let it sink. And as it sinks, once it gets to whatever depth you think the fish are sitting at, don't even try to reel it. Just twitch it. Leave it in that spot, the same way that you would leave a frog in a spot, twitching it before you start your retrieve. Then, once you do decide that there's nothing sitting there right then and there, The technique that I prefer to use is a twitching technique to bring it back, as you'll see in the video. If a topwater presentation isn't doing great things for you, you can really dial in on small pockets. Put a lure in a subsurface presentation, twitch it around and make it go crazy, and really start to draw some strikes. Check it out.
There you go. Oh man. Oh, number 2 on a fluke. All right. Nice hook set there too. I'll take it. And there you go. Mostly juveniles when the others are spawning. Coming up and doing the thing. Bye-bye. Now, this is not normally the way I would rig a fluke at all, but it's the way I'm doing it today because I happen to have a swim bait hook tied on. But here we have the main channel, and there's schools of bait fish working their way up and down. And by getting into these sides, these little corners that immediately come up against that channel, you can find snakehead that are looking to ambush smaller stuff. I think that's it for you. But the fall and the spring, the fluke is a good presentation to throw because the thing that the snakehead are likely feeding on are these moving schools of bait. And that's exactly what this is going to emulate on those days when the topwater bite may not be so fast. There we go. Picked it right up. Better fish. Better fish. What are you? Effective technique. You fish it the same way that you fish a frog. It's just subsurface. Chuck it up towards the grass line where you think the snakeheads are going to be. Let it sink. And while it's sitting there, just twitch it around. You don't even have to retrieve it. At least not at first. Got to give a shout out to my guy Eric. He's the one that turned me on to using a pink fluke. I'd never heard of anybody doing such a thing before, but he swore by it, and he's right. There are times an absolute fire way to catch fish. Do another quick measure on you. 22, 22 and a quarter. There you go. Get the whole fish there. I don't know how well you can see it. Don't do it. Thank you, darling. Appreciate you playing. Is this still usable? Yes, it absolutely is. Marvelous. Well, I guess we're going to close it out for today. Didn't have much time on the water, and man, it's getting dark faster than you expect. But it's all good. Got out here, got an opportunity to get on some fish. Got to show you all a pattern that I don't often see people talking about. Throwing the fluke in the fall. It works for bass and snakehead. Can't complain. Can't complain. These nights of being able to get away from the house and having a couple hours to yourself to kind of achieve equilibrium, they're getting harder and harder to come by. And pretty soon the season will be over, so I hope you all are out there taking advantage of it, getting into the outdoors. If you are, leave a like, make sure you subscribe. I guess that's about it for tonight. So I will remind you, take care of yourself, take care of each other. It's never too late to care again.